And that, while you're keeping the spine, which I just talked about, loose, you also need the musculature that pulls the organs in towards the spine and allows you to keep good posture. A tendon, it holds a muscle to a bone. So you've got these muscles like the bicep here or you're flexing here. How do you attach that stupid muscle to the bone? Well, that thing is called a tendon. And in medical terms, when you hurt that tendon, it's a sprain. So somebody says, I've got a sprain. Yeah, well, that's the point where a tendon going to a bone. There are also ligaments. A ligament is which attacks a bone to a bone. So there's no intervening muscle, so there'll be some ligaments involved. Shoulder ligaments. Lily's always complaining about her shoulder ligaments, for example. And so they can also be injured, and that's called a strain. So notice one's a sprain, one's a strain. Small detail, but hey, we want it there. Now, the last term, only 3 terms today, and I did the easy ones first. Anybody ever seen this word before? Tensegrity. What does it mean? Outside of the fact that there's a big definition there, what does it mean to you? Do you have any thoughts?
Like measure of like geometrically and structural properties, but geometrically. Structural
properties, absolutely. The reason I'm bringing this up is this. This is a model. What it has is 2 plates, but it's not using rods between them. It's only using string. So how does one plate float above the other? And here's an example of tensegrity. 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 So at any rate, this idea of being able to float things across from each other is absolutely key to everything we do in martial arts. The first, so we're going to talk a little bit about it. It's got these big definitions you can look up later, and yes, the short definition is build a structure without hard members touching hard members. So 2 bones aren't whacking against each other, kind of thing. Okay? So that's really the gist of it. We're going to start with the body overture. We started, as a 4-legged creature, which means that you had a spine and everything hung down off of it. Cool. Your lungs, your liver, your spleen, all these lovely things, all hung off of it. Then as we came upright, so that you could use your hands, things started hanging down. It's no longer, the spine was no longer a bridge. It had to be something else in order to work. And unfortunately, that's why there's so many spinal problems in humans that don't occur in a lot of the 4-footed friends that we have. So, spine first formed as a bridge. Our organs hung down from that bridge. Now our spines are built to flex up and down with the occasional twist to the side. Bottom line is, in the old days, like a dog running, the spine went like this, horse time. A little bit of turn side to side, but basically that was it. As we got up top, how many times does somebody go, oh, shoot, dang it. As you get older, this will become far more common. The problem is we weren't exactly built for that, and so we have to exercise for it. We have to get both tone and stretching. It's the stretching part that you young people don't do enough of. We old folks, we start stretching all the time. You watch us walking in and we're doing this kind of stuff all the time, and you young people are just sitting there going, yeah, that's an old thing. But nonetheless, very important. First person to really start understanding it was Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo did some amazing things. One of the things he wrote about is he didn't understand how the human body worked. He knew how to build a structure, how to build a tower and all of these things. He did some marvelous things, but he realized that the human body can't have the bones sitting on top of the bones, because if you're going to last any length of time, that will wear out that joint, because it's moving. On a tower, you just put the bricks up and nothing should move. Well, it moves a little during earthquake, but that's a problem. So you'll notice he did an awful lot of work on tendons. Tensegrity. He suddenly realized that we were taking the forces off of the joints by toning the muscles. And he realized that by tensing the muscles and stretching the muscles, that you could get a long way with this kind of thing. So he realized the structures of movements, couldn't be bone against bone, and that you have to have some sort of ligaments and structures. And he wrote an awful lot about how to relieve the pressure on the joints. We're going to try and relieving these pressures off the joints. We have to maintain good posture, efficient, and ultimately for long-term health. Right now, when you're real young, you don't really care a whole lot. Believe me, when you cross the 40-year-old line, you're going to care a great deal. You see these people walking along, the old people, and they've lost the integrity of their body that way, and it leads to all kinds of problems. Now, Lily, who is very good at these sorts of things, is going to start squawking in the background, but she's going to try it. Bottom line is, as you look at yourself, there are basically 6 regions of a spine. Remember, it used to be an arch? Well, in order to take all of this extra forces of standing up, the spine now does this wonderful zigzag. And unfortunately, you have to keep all 6 of those in a good line. Number 1 is the neck, right about there. Fine. Number 2, the upper back. And notice how the neck kind of curves this way, the upper back goes the other way. Number 3, lower back. How many of you have had lower back pain? Okay, and she's going, yeah. Okay, gets a little bit old, but that you have to take care of that. It's the thinnest part of the junction, and it actually ends up, you have to take good care of it, which is also why you have to keep your weight off. Because if you have a pot belly here, it pulls on your lower spine, and that will lend to problems. I've heard people say, oh, I need a little extra meat here to give my back some padding. Bull twaddle. All it's doing is it's pulling that back forward. It's actually stretching out the spine, and it's causing you damage and pain. Number 3, your rump. Sorry about that, but your rump turns the other way. You need to have your rump in good condition. Next is the quads, and finally the calves. And so you kind of see that this thing goes S, S, S like that all the way down. And this is a relaxed state where you're just standing there. Some of you are standing, that's great. And then some of you will stretch, and you'll see a lot of times they'll say, oh, put your feet in about shoulder width apart. And then you can actually stretch each one of those 6 regions. To know where those 6 regions are is very, very important. And is the gist of what I'm talking about today. If you look at Fred here, yes, I've named him. Fred has region 1 is the neck. Notice how it curves in. Curls out here. That's actually the remains of that bridge we used to have. Curls in here. Notice what that does is it lines up the organs over the pelvis. So the organs aren't pulling you forward. And so that's a very important part. Then the rump here, quads here, calves here. And it's that S that's very, very important. Again, keeping us all on the straight and narrow. Now, the problem, and this is where Leonardo, being the genius that he was, Leonardo realized that if you have all these organs hanging in front of the spine, remember, you got lungs, you got heart, you got liver, you got all these things hanging in front. How the heck, if they're used to drooping down on an animal, 4-legged animal. So keeping it in, the way that the body now does it is it has these crisscrossing bands. And I'm not going to go through all the bands, but those bands are things that turn. And you'll see sometimes, for example, people going, that's to stretch one of these bands that's curling around. You have to keep those tones. These people go, doing sit-ups, straight leg sit-ups. Problem is that they're not, there might be strengthening the abs, but really what you need to do is crisscross these things. So we'll be talking about some of the exercises that crisscross. And that, while you're keeping the spine, which I just talked about, loose, you also need the musculature that pulls the organs in towards the spine and allows you to keep good posture. There are societies where people have to carry things on their heads. And they have almost perfect posture, and they have very few spinal problems. Holy crap, you think, carrying water or a big bundle on your head would actually cause problems. No, it forces you to have very nice posture. It's a very odd thing in medicine. But carrying their loads like that does help them with their posture. Not that I'm volunteering for it, but still. If you want a closer thing, look at a baby. A baby who's playing well, especially a toddler who's just learned to crawl, they'll sit in this perfectly aligned fashion, and then they can twist and all that. Notice how that child has one knee up, and that allows that twist so that it can very efficiently turn. The spine is almost perfect. Unfortunately, as you age, you lose that perfection, and we need it back again. Here is an exercise that you could try to do. And I got another 4 minutes. Everybody, let's get one of these things. I'm going to throw them at you. Go, 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 go. Am I throwing enough at you? People need more? Yeah, more. Okay, let's just walk through this thing for a second. These are the 6 areas of the spine. So you lay down, and you can put this thing, and what it allows you to do is get your head off the ground, very slightly, and you're going to turn your chin down, but also stretch your head away from your body. So you're kind of stretching the neck, okay? Upper spine, keep your shoulders down to the ground, but push your solar plexus slightly up. See if you can feel the spine start to stretch. Number 3, the lower spine. The belly button comes up, and you're actually going to try and rotate your hips slightly forward. If you wish, the upper part of your hips just kind of pushes slightly forward. Number 4, your rump pushes gently into the floor. We'll leave it at that for the moment. Number 5, quads. Bend your knees at about 90 degrees. It could be a little bit more. Some people argue with that. And so what that does is it tends to stretch your quads a little bit. Number 5, that's quads. Number 6 is the calves. In order to get the calves, some people will pull their toes up gently off the ground, or even curl the toes. Now, if you can remember to do all 6 of those at once, which is difficult to do, you stretch the head, you stretch your upper chest, lower spine, rump, quads, and calves. That is an exercise that is often done in various martial arts I've been in, including kendo of all things. But nonetheless, it gives you a quick and dirty idea. Sorry, we're almost out of time, so sit up for a second. So there's exercises like that. There's a lot of exercises like that, which is fine. Examples of toning exercises. Knee bent sit-ups. I do not like, for starters, don't do these sit-ups. Straight leg sit-ups. It puts too much of a strain on your back. What I prefer you to do is at least knee bent. Some people will even touch the bottom of their feet together like this. And what I prefer to do is, as I come up, turn just a little bit. You don't have to come all the way up. That stretches the back a little bit too much. But this idea, torquing in, helps do the twist that I was talking about and the spiral in it. So but for every crunch you do, and you see people in the weight room, 45-pound weight behind their head, yes, yes, yes. And the problem with that is they end up getting bad backs. Arnold Schwarzenegger was one of the first people to say, I was a fool when I started this thing, because I was always trying because he was doing Mr. Universe, he was always trying to tone this, and he got a very bad back very early on. And he suddenly realized that what he had to do is, for every sit-up he did, he had to do a back arch of some sort. And there's all kinds of different back arches. There's a twist, back arch, which they call the swim. There's all kinds of different actions. You don't have to throw it hard, but you need to stretch the muscles in your back just as much as you're tensing the muscles in the front. Other exercises that we do here. Medicine ball. Some of you who are here today, I can pull out medicine balls. Turn. Turn. Learning to catch a medicine ball. Not with just your arms. Well, hear that, kid? Hey! 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 All of these, you're trying to do it with your entire body. See, Dr. Smart there had no faith in Miss D there. But the idea is not to just catch it with your arm, but catch it with your whole body. Okay? Thus using those bands, those spiraling bands. Shoulder rolls. We do talk about, oh my goodness, doing forward rolls, but also backward rolls. Why? Because those are twists. They're going from one shoulder to the opposite. So hip and doing combinations of those, very nice. You do and forward, do a few and backwards if possible. Kicking drills. This looks a lot, I know, but that motion is absolutely key to getting the power that we need from kicks. And there are linear kicks, but Sheesh just loves. Sheesh is going, no, I need to spin. I agree, Sheesh, we must spin. The turning kicks will generate a lot more power. You can get a lot of momentum out of them. So we should be doing those kind of things, using what they call body torque. Always key up. First thing she did when she got one, she key up. It doesn't have to be loud. You don't all have to be Serena Williams grunting on every shot. You can grunt internally. But you need that to firm up the torso so that you can actually generate the power that you need. Here's another exercise. Here's a guy standing straight, then pulling the head forward. This is where I need Lily. Lily would say, pull the head forward, but still extend your head upwards. Then as you bend your knees, you've got to rotate your hips slightly forward. This is a weird old thing. It's one of those things where you almost have to feel where the hip is. Bending the knees, getting the quads and calves to relax into this position. And you'll see a lot of martial arts where they're doing things. And that's fine. This is just exercising this ability to turn and twist off of the various motions. I'm not going to try and get into it, but I want my black belts to start thinking in that regard. Questions? None? Boy, I put you to sleep. I like that. You'll come up with questions.